I'm Janita.
And I'm Derek, and you are watching
Ask the Bennett.
Oh! Yeah.
And remember, to love, laugh, and live.
So what's going on, people? If you're new to this channel, to this page, be sure to subscribe, to follow us on Instagram, watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, also like us on Facebook as well. Give us that thumbs up, and don't miss anything that we post. All right, so today, all right, so today we got a question. So we're talking for a couple years, maybe on and off, and we get into a scenario where the guy says,
what does it mean? No. He says,
right. When he says,
I'm scared to love you,
or I'm too afraid to love you. What does that mean to the other person? What does that mean?
Well,
I'm too scared to love you.
Something I've never heard before, but
I've heard it before.
Maybe he has loved before, and it wasn't what the other person thought it should be, or maybe he's afraid because he doesn't want to be rejected, or maybe he feels like he can't love her like she needs or she feels she should be loved.
Now, on the other hand, it's funny because in this case, the guy is saying it to the girl, the guy is saying it to the woman, and I find that a little bit funny because in our sense, me being a man, if I heard that, if I felt like that, or felt like I needed to say that, it would be something along the lines of commitment. But I can see where you're going, where you're saying he's too afraid to love because she needs to be loved a certain way, and he's afraid that he can't give that to her. I would take that also as a sign to the other one, saying it's almost a red flag. It's like, should I, or do I feel, like I can match up to who you need to be with? So sometimes if somebody doesn't have that much confidence in themselves, it's like, now what are you really saying? Is it a disguise for something else you want to say to me? Especially for the man's sake, right? So that's how I kind of take it when I first read that. I'm too afraid. I see that as an excuse too, as well. You can kind of look at it like that as well. I think we're looking at it completely different.
So wait. When you say an excuse to not be in a relationship, a committed relationship, or
like I said, commitment, because it can be I'm too afraid to commit, or I don't want to be settled down right now, especially if it's getting too serious, right? That's what I feel. I feel like it's a scapegoat for something else. I'm not sure exactly what. Maybe you're scared, but not for the right reason too. So you have to take that into account. You have to figure out what kind of person he is as well. Right. But that's my take. So
you wouldn't think that because he said that. What if he means I've already done this before, I've been there, done that, I don't want to get into it again in another relationship, and my love is rejected because I'm not doing it good enough, or I did everything I could in my power to please someone or please a woman, and it turned.
That could be it, like different past cases or scenarios or relationships, to where it didn't work out. You're afraid to get into another one, or to get serious into another one. Like I said, it can be a commitment thing. It could be, I'm afraid to do this, or I don't want to do this. It's two different takes. So you really have to figure out where his head is at, if he really wants to be with you. That conversation after that,
that's definitely,
that would tell exactly what you need to know.
That's definitely a subject for a conversation, or a question for a conversation, or a comment for a conversation. I don't know. I think if that's something you would have said to me, I guess my response would have been, what do you mean? Right. Why are you afraid?
Right. So I'm trying to put it in my case. Like, if I were to say that to you, if I felt like saying that to you, it was more so me being afraid to commit, or me just being scared that I know this is the only person for me. And that feeling of this is the one. I might lose my bachelorhood. You know what I mean? So it's like that's the one. This is it. This is the end. And for guys and for men, that's a scary feeling. That's like when I asked you to marry me. I was scared. I was nervous as ever. I knew you were going to say yes, but it was still that feeling.
How you know?
Like, I mean, we talked about it and everything. Which you should.
Yeah.
But I knew you were going to say yes, but it was still that that burning feeling. Like I was like, I don't. I'm just scared for some reason. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was still afraid. And I think that's the same type of feeling along those lines of where I'm scared to get into it, and this may be too good to be true. You know what I mean? So that I'm too afraid to love you can be like I said before, it can be meaning for something else. That's just a deeper conversation you guys need to have, and really ask him why, or what's the what's your reasoning behind saying you're afraid. What are you afraid of? So that has to take place.
Yeah, a question of just being a soft, subtle question, not a dagger at the person, or not, you know what I'm saying? Because then they'll be reluctant to even finish that conversation. Like, oh yeah, see, I knew it anyway. So I think that question needs to be revisited. You know what I mean? Like, she needs to go back and say, hey, I just want to ask you, what do you mean? Or what did you mean when you said you're afraid to love me? Don't go harsh, don't yell, don't, Are
there any other signs too? Like, because if it can be going the bad way, or on the other way. Sorry to me cut you off. I had to say this before I lost my train of thought. But look at the signs. What is he doing? What is his actions towards you? Is he kind of pulling away from you? Is he having different feelings? Are things different? He's not doing what he used to do. Things like that. It can be. You have to really take it both ways and see where his head is really at if he's not a very verbal person. Yeah, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
So again, just make sure you ask that question again. Say, I just want to know, what you really meant. Don't do it bitter. Don't do it harsh. Don't do it yelling. Because it's one thing a man does not like is you coming at him incorrectly. So if you go to him softly and say, hey, I don't know what your terms are, but babe, I just need to know, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, that's a whole nother video. As far as how you approach, your spouse when you want to talk about something serious, like that, because I know I can't stand that. In the heat of the moment, that's when you want to start talking about something that you thought about 10 years ago, and now you mad and anyway, that's another video. Like we said, talk it out, see where his head is at, and if, it's vice versa, it could be, on the other foot too. So for the woman, you can see where their head is at, and you guys just really need to sit down and have the conversation. Look at the signs that each person is giving off as well. Just keep that in mind.